Okay, so welcome to the November CIO Roundtable. You can see the our picnic picture right there. Good times that we've had this year. And I think we had close to 200 or over 200 down that day. Yeah. So one of the months, I think that was June or July, we didn't have a roundtable that month, but we've been pretty consistent this year on having these monthly roundtables. We'll probably have one more roundtable to wrap up the year. I'll review some of our accomplishments, things that are underway that we need to complete before the end of the year, and then what's ahead for our next biennium. So we're rapidly approaching the end of the year, which is unbelievable, and heading into next biennium and all the great adventures that we're going to have there. One of the things that I'll do is send out a survey about the roundtables and other communication that I do. I want to make sure that these are effective and that you're getting the information you need. I don't want to go through the hassle of putting presentations and everything together and doing this every month if they're not valuable to you, which is really the intent of doing this, is to get information in your hands that you may not have, give you the ability to ask me questions, and also talk about strategy and some tactical things that are going on. So they're very valuable to me. I get good feedback via the IMs and other information after the roundtable. So I'm thinking that I'll continue to do this, but let me know. We have this, we have the picnic, we have the weekly updates that Jamie puts out, which I think are very valuable. We have the Employee Advisory Committee, we have the Employee Engagement Committee, and then we have a once a year in-person library meeting, all with the intent of trying to understand what's going on from a staff perspective in KCIT and to communicate as efficiently as I can. So these are my communication channels, so I can talk directly to you. And I want to know via survey that'll come out fairly soon what your thoughts are. What works, what doesn't, how could we improve so that we're improving our communication, which is really important. So the message that I always give at the fourth quarter is finishing the year strong. It's always good to finish the year strong as we approach a new biennium, and I'm going to be talking about all of the projects that we have in front of us next biennium that aren't approved yet, but are still looking very good as they get reviewed by council. And so we need to finish the year strong, as you know, because we have a lot of commitments. We have a lot of projects and initiatives on our resource plan. Our resource plan is something else I'll talk about today, but it's very full with expectations from customers. And the holidays are coming, and we know that many of you will be on vacation. So we have to find ways to finish the year strong and meet our commitments. And I'm sure you'll agree with that. So we'll talk a little bit about that. All right, moving forward. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. A little bit about the employee survey, which just closed. We're going to talk about the 2017-18 biennial budget. That budget's being reviewed by council. It's not closed yet, but we do have some updates for you, and I want to review the projects, the IT projects that are in front of council that we'll be supporting, just so that we're all on the same page in terms of what lies ahead next biennium. We'll talk about meeting customer expectations in the resource plan and how the resource plan and that process, how important that is to our aligned consolidated IT organization, and how it's really helping us meet customer expectations because we're really looking at realistic work schedules and where we might have staff that are over allocated and having those conversations that we may not have had before. We'll look at our exec projects, and we'll also talk about how our separately elect friends are looking to us more and more as they move forward with their strategies, and looking to our service teams to help them out. That's happening a lot more, and I don't know that everyone's aware of that. And then on the strategic side, I want to give you an update on our data management plan and our platforms, and some of our strategies. I have a slide in here that I call my cloud slide, where I'll update you on how our hybrid cloud strategy is progressing, which is looking very good. But it's important that we're all up to speed and can talk to that as well. And I have Sharon Potts and Jamie in the room in case you can't see them. I guess you can see them. So if you want to ask them any questions, please feel free, because then I can stop talking and they can actually answer some questions. And if not, I'll probably just ask them questions myself too. So, okay, the employee survey is complete. We have 73% of KCIT staff responded to the survey, and you can see that we had some of our services that had over 90%. Great job, thank you. Business analysis, Office of the CIO, I hope so.
We're not at
I want to know.
100%.
I want to know why we didn't get 100. eGov and IT project management. So Sharon, some of your services.
Pretty good,
Wow, good
yeah.
job. Yeah, nice. So that's about what we had last year on the survey. I would have liked, to be honest with you, I would have liked to see a higher percentage this year. It's great that it didn't go down, but I would have liked to have seen 100%. The problem that 27% of approximately 430 to 450 staff is about 115, 120 people that didn't respond to the survey. That is a pretty significant number in my book. That's over 100 people that didn't give us any responses as to how their experience in KCIT looks from their perspectives. Didn't give us ideas on areas where we could improve. And really, we don't get a feel for how engaged that 27% is. So it's hard to draw conclusions there. So I would encourage everyone, when this comes out next year, because this is going to be a yearly thing, that we hold each other accountable to taking the survey. We can't make the situation better for anybody if we don't get the responses. So it looks like we got some really good responses in some areas and not so much in others. So we're going to review the results. Last year it resulted in the wonderful Day of Discovery, which was very successful. We'll pull the employee engagement group together again. And based on the results and the group's analysis of those results and areas that we need to improve in as a department and as leadership, we will tackle that just like we did this year. So this is very important to me. It's very important to Dow and the leadership in King County. And we're going to continue to be diligent and doing everything we can to make King County the best place to be in terms of working and what we want to do with our organization. We want to build a culture that's very supportive, where we're developing everyone in the organization. We're challenging folks so that we're not stale, but there's opportunities for training, for learning, for development. I think that's really important in technology, and we have that ability today if we're taking advantage of it. And we want to share knowledge, share success, and develop a very collaborative environment. So we'll look at the survey results to see where we're doing well in those areas and where we need to improve.
So just a mention, Christine's group had 100%. I inadvertently left her off and she's the overachiever.
Christine who?
Christine Chow.
Oh, okay. Good. All right, so I'm gonna, this is a little bit of an update for those of you that were on the CIO Roundtable last month, but it's important enough to go over again. We were facing a $50 million and still are facing a $50 million general fund deficit for the 17-18 biennium. And the executive's budget went forward, balancing that in many ways. A lot of our separately elect friends and general fund agencies like DAJD took some pretty dramatic cuts that have resulted in some service reductions or elimination of some services. Council right now is reviewing all of the budgets and having budget hearings on a continual basis. Our budget, which contains some very new rate models for like our business solution service and GIS and others. Everyone, I think, did a really good job prepping council staff and our customers for those rate changes, because we're really not getting any pushback or difficult questions right now from council or council staff on our budget or our rates, which is really good news. In a year where there's $50 million of our general fund deficit, and where we really dramatically changed some of our rates, like BSS, where we went to a per application cost, which was tremendously advantageous for us in talking with our customers, and also added business analysis and PM support to the rate. I would have anticipated a little more questions and concerns about that, but we worked with our customers diligently. Our SDMs and others did a great job in working through our work orders and our finance folks. And I think we came to an understanding. They worked through their applications and what they wanted to pay for and which applications they didn't. And we worked through that process. And when the budgets went over to council, I think our customers knew, had a better knowledge of our rates and our methodologies and really what they agreed to pay for. And our council staff that, like Jenny Giambattista, that work with us, also I think had an understanding of what we're trying to do. So that's good news. The IT projects that each of our partners in the business have asked for is being reviewed. Obviously, we're a big part of that, so we've been involved in some of those questions from council staff. So none of the projects have really been approved yet. They're going through the vetting process with council staff and with council. The one project that has gotten some attention is the public health and DCHS data integration project. They're questioning whether that project should be funded given all the service cuts that is in the behavioral health area. We're still hoping that that can move forward because it's really an important project to integrate the data to a client level so we can really see that comprehensive view of the services that customers receive from us. Other projects, some of you have been involved with some of the questions, but that's the stage that they're in. Our project ask, again, was zero. We don't have any biennial budget asks, which I think is a really positive message for us to our customers. A couple of the customers that I've said that to just kind of went, oh, really? You're kidding. You don't have any projects, right? No projects? And I think that's also a testament to where we've been over the last 5 years and really putting a good foundation in place that now our customers can build on. So that's a positive message. That doesn't mean that every biennium we'll have a zero project ask, but it also shows that we're being a lot smarter and a lot more efficient about how we're doing operations, and including upgrades and some of those things that we used to ask for project money for, which I think is another very positive message. So great job. We're not out of the woods yet. Nothing's been approved, but I think all the hard work that we put into the budget this year in terms of the budget packages, helping our customers, putting our rates together, communicating, doing the work order sheet with our customers and working through that, I think has really paid off. So we're looking extremely good right now. Any questions on that? Okay. No questions? Just, wow, no questions from council, no questions from staff. I think that's the way it goes. Okay, I wanted to run through the projects that are before council that we will be supporting, some with a lot of support from a lot of services and some with a little bit of support. Depends on whether it's a separately elect or executive branch and the complexity of the project. But it's really important that we're not surprised by these projects. There's expectations from our customers that they have of us as a service organization that we're going to start these projects in the first quarter of 2017. And there's a lot of them, as you can see, and there's various needs in every project. But these represent what I would say is years, in some cases, of living with old technology, legacy technology, and now our customers have this pent-up demand to modernize, to streamline their business processes, and use us as a service provider to help them move forward. That's that strategic partnership that we've really been looking for, that we want to have as a service organization, and I think these projects represent that. So I'm going to go through these quickly, and if you have any questions about any of the projects, please let me know. You can see the project, the agency that it's associated with, and the appropriation requests in millions, by the way. The first one is the jail management system in DAJD, $12.2 million. They're going to be looking for a COTS or SaaS solution and then to integrate back to our many interfaces that are on our existing rehosted jail management system. That's a 3 to 4 year project with the first phase validating business requirements and workflows and dusting off potentially an RFP that was created some time ago. So jail management system, a top priority for Director Hayes in the jail, and he is committing this as his top priority and committing the staff necessary to make this happen. So that's a huge project for DAJD that will probably span a couple bienniums. Property tax administration. This is Departments of Assessment and Treasury. Our folks are executive branch and Treasury. And we call this the rehosted A&T system. They're actually taking a less aggressive approach than the jail management system on this. They're going to go out with an RFI to look at the vendor community. Our business analyst service helped them with some requirements and some workflow this biennium, which is very valuable. They'll be included in the RFI. And they're also going to be streamlining some of their business processes, specifically around senior exemptions, which is very convoluted right now. And so we'll be helping them with that. But eventually, they'll also be going out with an RFP to replace the rehosted mainframe accessory and treasury system. But for now, they have about $570,000 to write the RFI, look at the results, look and see what's in the vendor community, and do some cleanup on some of the business processes. Behavioral health integration is the data project that I mentioned. That is $4.6 million. And that's a key project, and it represents what I think we're going to see in a lot of our domains. Like transit has T-Bird, which is another data integration, business intelligence, data analytics type project. But the behavioral health integration is critical because it brings together all of these transactional operational databases into a data warehouse type environment, utilizing the platforms that we've been talking about and on our data management service, and really from a client perspective, integrating all of the various services that a client could have so that we can, our customers can provide better health services from a comprehensive health perspective. And so it's not just DCHS, it also includes public health. Tabulation system replacement. I wish we had that right now. How many days from the election are we?
Just 7.
7 days from the election, and our friends in elections are still using a federally certified XP system to tabulate our King County ballots.
Right, but we don't want them putting this in between now and then.
No, that wouldn't be a good practice. So the interesting thing here is that elections has to use federally certified systems, which has been one of the problems in getting off of their XP system. They do have an active project. I've been working with Julie Wise, the director, to talk to council staff. It's got a lot of support, and we're supporting this project from a lot of perspectives, from a network perspective and an operational service perspective. We're on steering team. I'm co-sponsor with Julie Wise, the director, and this is a critical project, obviously, for our friends in elections. And it's an example of a separately elected agency reaching out to us, wanting to partner with us so that they can have success on their projects. And we're seeing that more and more. Asset management system and facilities. Again, very involved with that. Our SDMs are involved in all of these, by the way. Specifically, Patrice Frank has been working with FMD, and we've had a great engagement from our business analysis service on requirements that got rave reviews from the director in FMD, and this is a critical system for them. And by the way, we're trying to standardize on a platform for asset management, and so that we have an enterprise contract, and we're looking to CityWorks, which is being used throughout the county, to do that. So that's another platform that we hope to have in place. Records management system upgrade, our ERMS system will be upgraded. That's $1.4 million. We'll be very involved with the vendor on that. NeoGov replacement, there's been a lot of great work on that, working with HRD. That needed more funding for the new system, and that's the request. Once the new funding's in place, then the contract can be finalized and work can start there. So we'll have a replacement for NeoGov, which isn't anybody's favorite if you talk to our HR folks. Countywide e-payment implementation, another project that has been going on. That's going to replace our e-payment engine, and our BSS folks are developing a common storefront. There's a lot of work that we've been doing from a project management and business analysis perspective on this as well. The RFP has been vetted, and I believe they're either selecting a vendor or about to, and they need some additional funding to move forward next biennium. So next generation ORCA, that's $56 million, and we're one of many regional players there, obviously, with Sound Transit and others. Mike Berman is very involved with that from a leadership perspective, but obviously that's a big project for our transit partners. And then you can see many transit applications. There's a lot of modernization and strategic type initiatives that transit's embarking on. They want to be the top transit agency in the country, and I think they're well on their way, but you can see that they're really looking to us to help them along that route, and there's a lot of responsibility there that we're going to have to do that. And there's some new technology involved, replacement of their network, their 4.9 wireless network, which is critical for bus routing and other information that flows through that network. Our network folks will be very involved with that. T-Bird is their data integration project, and then transit signal priority equipment is also a big project for them. And then getting information from transit coaches. This is kind of, like an IoT type project where information from the engine and other components of the buses will be received, and they can make better decisions around maintenance and other gas mileage and other things. These are all great transit projects. Onboard camera management system. All of the buses will have cameras, so that information will also be flowing, have to be collected, and you can see they have camera data, they have bus data, they have fare data, all of that.
Big data.
Big data is coming to transit, and then all has to be aggregated, put together so they can do more predictive type analysis in transit. And that's what we're going to see more and more from a strategic perspective, is less transactional and operational focus, and more on putting the information and the data together so that our departments can make faster and better operational and strategic decisions, which is why you see T-Bird up there, which is why you see the behavioral health integration project. So you can start to see these strategic directions that we've been talking about, and if you align each of these projects, they align very well with our strategic goals that we've been talking about as well. So exciting systems, and our customers really need these modernization and these new services moving forward. Sharon, anything to add there? Anything that, the EBS division is all over those projects, right?
Yeah.
And you have, Geyer's been doing a lot of work with leadership and staff around planning for these projects.
We just had another session this morning around DOT, actually talking about the projects and understanding what resources we're going to need on them, and really getting to understand these projects a little bit more before we dive into them, which I think is going to be very helpful.
And that's something that that shows, I think, the discipline of planning that we have to do now.
Mm-hmm.
I think in some of the prior bienniums, with the budget would pass, January would come,
And we'll sit and look
and
at
then we'll sit, and some of the projects didn't start right away,
Right.
and then customer expectations weren't always aligned.
Yep.
And so I'm really pleased to see the upfront planning that Geyer and others are doing with the SDMs and the service owners to really start planning for what resources are going to be needed, where are we going to have conflicts, and so we can really align our customer expectations.
Right. And it's already driven a couple of quite challenging conversations around, the budget that you originally anticipated for the scope you anticipated don't actually match.
Yes.
And they're difficult conversations, but they're good conversations to have, because that truth will come out somewhere down the line.
Mm-hmm.
And it's much better for it to come early in the process, where you can then have a sensible discussion about, well, if we are limited to that budget, what are your priorities? As
Right.
opposed to finding that you've spent the budget but you haven't delivered on the priorities. So they're really important conversations to have.
Well, I can tell you from a project review board perspective, starting projects where we don't have that risk that you just talked about is very important, because oftentimes we see projects get started,
Mm-hmm.
customers have expectations of a full scope, and then if you start out without the right amount of budget, or you don't have the right resources, we've seen over and over that really adds to the risk of the project. And then our friends in DNRP have well thought out improvement projects, capacity charge, which I believe is a application modernization project. They also are going to be using CityWorks for asset management related to stormwater services. So you can see this asset management and this platform again. Badly needed replacement of their laboratory information management system. And I know that we've had our BA service out with them doing some great work on requirements related to that replacement. And then surface water management billing system replacement. We collect a lot of money from that, and there's some integration with Treasury as well. So another key application modernization. So those are 4 key projects in DNRP. So that gives you a flavor for what's facing us next biennium and what we can expect. And, you know, you can see that's quite the list. That's quite the list. So this isn't a list that's kind of thrown together haphazardly. This isn't a list where customers are saying, well, let's see if we can get funded. And then, you know, if you don't start for a year or 2, no big deal. This is actually there's a sense of urgency around each of these projects from a customer expectation perspective. And there is an expectation of us as a strategic partner and a service provider that we're going to engage well, that we have the skill sets and the resources necessary, and if not, then we're going to go out and find them, and that we're going to deliver on these projects that are so critical for our customers. It's a pretty expansive list, and we should be very happy about this. This is work for us. Any organization, public or private, that has work of this magnitude should be very happy. But it also represents a lot of expectation. And these projects aren't using outdated technology. There's an expectation that they're going to use modern, updated technology, and which will require us to make sure we can rise to that as well. So, assuming that all of these projects move forward, and like I said, I haven't heard only one that's really being questioned right now. There could be more, but let's assume that, you know, the 30 projects that the executive proposed that went forward to council, let's assume that they get funded. That represents $142 million of capital project money in addition to our operating budget, and 5 that are countywide and 25 that are agency specific, and 104 million of that, 73% of that 142 million, is transit projects.
It's all about Mike.
And those tend to be higher projects, but there's also a lot of modernization and expectation that transit has moving forward. So what that shows is that KCIT has received a lot of support from our executive and the executive staff. There wasn't any budget cuts proposed for KCIT. The way we handled budget cuts is that through our service orders. If the service orders weren't there, then we would have had to cut. In some cases, some of our general fund agencies did lower their what they usually ordered from us, but in other cases, we've actually increased the amount of services we're providing through our order system. So, good executive support, tremendous amount of customer demand, puts us in good shape, I think, moving forward. But it also, there's a sense of urgency around planning and making sure that we can resource and deliver on the commitments. Okay. Any more questions on that?
Nope.
Okay, I think we've covered that. So hopefully we have a lot of people on the roundtable today that are hearing about all the projects we have in front of us.
148.
148, good. Good. Hopefully it's 127 of those are the people that didn't take the survey. Maybe not, I don't know. Okay, If you've seen the large poster-sized paper that's on the 6th, 7th, and 9th floors, maybe even at King Street, I don't know. Ann Moses is doing a great job staffing and really planning our resource planning effort. This is something that we should all be aware of. We should also be very aware that it's a critical process, and I consider it a discipline, where every quarter we have all of our initiatives and projects within SharePoint in our resource planning tool. We resource those by hours, by employee, and we look to see where we may have some over allocation of employee hours. The intent here is that we align customer expectations, both internal, with some internal tasks, and external, with available resources, and we don't provide unrealistic work schedules, or we don't have someone that has 1,200 hours when there's only 570 available. And it gives us an opportunity to see if we can meet the expectations of our customers, and where we can't, to have those conversations rather than just kind of move along with some kind of plan that maybe isn't there, hoping that we can meet customer expectations but maybe not delivering. So this is more than just an exercise where we show all the projects we're working on, but it's really our tool to make sure that we can meet customer commitments, we can meet internal operational and strategic commitments, and that we can provide realistic work schedules for our KCIT staff. Everyone should be having conversations about the resource plan. So if you're listening today and you say, what resource plan? That's a problem.
I'll put a link down in the weekly report.
Yeah. If you never had a conversation about the resource plan, that's a huge problem, because communication is one of the key successes to this and one of the main purposes of this. So within staff meetings, within one-on-ones, hallway conversations, doing roundings around the resource plan, whatever you need to do, you need to be aware of what your responsibilities are, what you've been signed up to work on, so that we can start to have good conversations when we run into issues where we have someone maybe that's assigned to too many projects and we need to shift around. And so this is really, I'm actually the process owner of this, and I'm going to make sure that we're successful in this, and that we continue to talk about it. It's a huge expectation for my leadership team that they participate and they communicate the resource plan. But the main purpose here is that everyone in KCIT should know what they've been assigned for a particular quarter. Now that's going to change, obviously, but at least initially what you've been assigned and for how many hours, and then you can have priority discussions, you can have workload discussions, and we can have discussions with our customers around what they can expect us to work on and complete during a particular quarter of the year. So this has been going on for a while. We have regular meetings now. It's really important that when you see a conflict where there's potentially a over-allocation or a resource conflict that's occurring, that gets raised up so that we can resolve it. Unresolved resource conflicts result in project delays and unmet customer expectations, which is what we're trying to avoid. So this is a planning tool. This is a discipline that's core to KCIT, and it's something that we're going to continue to mature and evolve. And it's really forced some really great conversations around certain projects, and some of our staff that were assigned to too many projects, and we had to make adjustments. We made those adjustments. We communicated with our customers, and we can move forward. I think those of you that have seen the resource plan on any of the floor walls, the thing that jumps out at me is how much work we do in KCIT. I mean, it's an incredibly impressive plan.
We've got a question.
Okay.
Does the resource planning include non-project operations, work, and efforts?
Yes. For each of the resources in KCIT, there's not just project work, but there's also a percentage of time allocated for administration, operational support, and some of the folks in the resource plan are fully in operational support and not on projects at all, but their time is allotted for. So yes, we try to take into account vacations and training and other things so that we can get a clear picture of where we are and what resources we have available.
The next slide. That's my favorite one.
Favorite slide. Any more questions on that? So if anybody has never heard of the resource plan,
I'll put it in the weekly report.
Jamie will have it in the weekly report. But I urge anybody that is listening that has never heard of it or hasn't had enough conversations to start engaging with your manager, supervisor, and other staff and ask questions like, what am I assigned? What's my priorities? What am I working on for the quarter? And it's a two-way conversation. So, the plan is really a communication tool, as I said, and it's between managers and staff and KCIT and customers. And what we found is that it is a juggling act. There are always going to be more projects and operational tasks that we have to do than we have resources, even though we have a large staff. And again, you can see the amount of work that's on any given resource plan. The trick is to juggle that. Some of our applications and some of our technology is proprietary and non-standard, even though we've made a lot of progress moving to more of a standardized infrastructure. And that means that only certain staff can work on those particular applications or infrastructure, which we're trying to move away from. So that we have a broader set of staff that can work on standard type tools. That's always going to be a goal, but we still have some legacy sitting around that one or two staff are only have knowledge of. I was in a meeting this morning on that topic, a steering committee with our friends in DCHS, and they're doing a behavioral health integration project. And as part of the project, they're moving from Informix database to SQL. And we talked about in the steering committee with the customer how that move to SQL will now open up a lot more resources to work on, that particular database than Informix, which was really a few resources that could work on that. And that did cause some resource conflict. So those are the kind of conversations that kind of jump out at us and that we learn about as we move forward with our resource planning, but it is really a juggling act. Anything else you want to say about the resource plan? Okay. So, why does all this matter? We've got this new budget, we've got these new projects, we've got a resource plan, and we've got, I don't know how many projects on the resource plan. There has to be over 100, I would say. And it matters because our customers need us to move forward with their business goals, with improving their services. We mentioned the transit modernization. In addition to the projects, the over 100 million of capital projects that transit has, they're also investing in us for application modernization to the tune of $2.5 million a biennium. That's a lot of faith and a lot of responsibility that they're asking us to take on to modernize some of their technology. and they're looking to us to do that. So if transit and our DNRP friends and DCHS with our data integration, if they're going to improve, if they're going to serve their customers better, faster, they need us to help them. That's why this matters. This is more than just IT and technology. This is us servicing our customers, contributing to their progress, their improvements, so that our residents and our communities can improve. That's why we're here. That's why this matters. And it's a big deal. So you should all feel extremely with a sense of pride and value that you're here, that you've got this responsibility, that you're in a IT organization that's in demand, and that our customers are reaching out to us, and that you can help the communities that we serve. That's why we're in public service. So that's why it matters. It's a big deal. And we want to do it well. We also have some separately elect partnerships. More and more our separately elect friends are reaching out to us, asking us for help, because the days of having a IT organization that's siloed, like the separately elects have had for years, it's just not sustainable, and we're seeing that. District Court, we're contributing and helping them in many ways, from a BSS perspective, from a PMO perspective, from a leadership perspective, on their case management system. The King County Sheriff has reached out to us, and they're making a shift in their records management system. And we've also done an assessment of their IT organization. Our prosecuting attorney has reached out to us, asking us help on video evidence, which is very manual and slow right now, and they know that there's better technology that can help their attorneys look at this video evidence that's coming in from some of these body cameras now that Seattle Police Department have, that actually come to our prosecuting attorney's office in the form of video that our attorneys have to look at, and then take that to the courtroom. So it's not just paper evidence anymore. Now they're seeing video evidence, and they're reaching out to us for help there. So a lot of demand on the separately elect side that we're starting to get involved with. We've done a lot of risk assessments, and we're actually involved in more. Jim Keller has been kind of front and center in doing this, but elections, sheriff's office, prosecuting attorney's office reached out to us and said, hey, take a look at our organization. What are we missing? Where are our gaps? What risks do we have? So we've gone in and looked at all layers of their technology, from their server infrastructure, storage, their applications, their organizational structure. And what we've seen is a lot of these IT organizations didn't have the manpower, didn't have the right skill sets to really execute on projects and keep their operations going. We saw a lot of risk in very old applications, a lot of very old server environments, and we've reached out to them and said, hey, we have services available, we have our SVE available, we have some standard environments you should be taking advantage of, and in many cases they have. But really, they've asked us for that help, and that's a lot of trust that we've built in over the years. And what that's done is it's moved a lot of our separately elect folks into our standards and have made them more successful as they move forward with their IT strategic plans. And that's really what we need to be about, right, is making our customers more successful, whether they be separately elect or executive branch. And that's why we have such a large project portfolio right now, is there's a lot of pent-up demand to replace years and years of lack of modernization in some cases. But there's also a huge demand in our customer department to improve the services that they provide.
Molly is saying that she has a dream of a regional digital evidence solution, and Mark Mayer has the same dream.
That's a great dream. I think we just assigned Molly to another project, so thank you, Molly.
She's got a funny emoji here. She's got the thank you very much emoji.
Okay,
You got
I don't
10
know,
minutes.
10 minutes left, good. I may actually get through the whole slide deck, that could be amazing. I wanted to give you an update on the various environments that we have. I call this our hybrid cloud environment, and it's really the realization of the vision that we've had for many, many years. But it's happened, it's here, and we're seeing further adoption, and we'll see even increased adoption as we start to modernize our application portfolio, and which we're actually looking at right now, right, Sharon? We're looking at the portfolio, and we're looking at where we have risks, and then coming up with strategies on where and how we're gonna modernize.
Yep.
So if I had a pointer right here, which I don't, I would be pointing at our King County Data Center and giving you some updates here. That's where we have our UC platform. So this isn't just a hybrid cloud discussion, this is a platform discussion. We have a unified communication platform. It's Skype for Business. We're fully deployed now. The project is focused on decommissioning. We've already realized, I think, about $2 million worth of savings from the PBX costs that we were paying. So we're moving forward and maturing with Skype technology. I think you'll see over the next few months and into 2017 a real push to upgrade our conference rooms on the 6th, 7th, and 9th floor, and also some of our executive conference rooms with equipment that I'm now using in Mango.
That was one of the questions that Ashley was going to answer about what's the status with computers and monitors in the 9th floor conference room.
Right. So actively working on that. We will get every conference room outfitted with modern technology so that we can be more productive in those conference rooms. We understand they're not at all what we want them to be right now, but we're committed, and we have active projects looking to replace that. Not replace, because there's nothing in there. No, to put modern equipment in there.
There's a lot of chairs in them.
Yeah, a lot of chairs. Yeah, it's like going back to the 80s. So in our data center right now, we're redoing the lease in our safety data center because of our standard virtualized environment, and because of improved virtualized technology and consolidation of our technology. We're in our SVE right now. I think we're over 800 VMs, which is phenomenal. In prior years, those could have been physical servers. Now, if those of you that have been down to Savvy and have looked at the SVE, you can see that it barely takes a rack to hold the SVE. It's pretty phenomenal. But we don't need as much space. So our new lease will give us 40% of the space that we now have. Our partner Savvy will take the rest of that space. We'll obviously keep our networking, key networking infrastructure there, but we're consolidating to, I think, 76 racks, and that's well underway. We're hoping to get approval from council on the new lease in November or December. And we will not have an empty data center, but it shows you the advancements that we've made. And by having other services in other environments, we don't have the same need for the data center space that we had before. Our Skype for Business and our SVE platform is in that data center as well. Over to the right, you can see Office 365. One of our key cloud environments, the government cloud, Microsoft Dynamics, CRM Dynamics, which is not part of Office 365. It's actually part of the Azure cloud, but there is a lot of interfaces with Office 365. So in Office 365, we've had SharePoint. That continues to grow. Our BSS folks have an active team now that works with SharePoint and CRM. We have an active project that is starting to migrate our email to Office 365 with KCIT and Superior Court as our first two pilot organizations. And I think Superior Court has been fully deployed, if I'm not mistaken. And that apparently went very, very well, which is great. And so we have our PMO service, we have our engineering and our operations staff all working on that project. And the intent is to get the entire county to email Office 365, take advantage of that, SharePoint, and then obviously utilization of the Office tool there as well. Microsoft Dynamics, we're continuing to add CRM applications to our common data model, so that will continue to grow. And then in our SaaS model, we have some critical applications there. I think that we'll see more SaaS applications in the future. And we have our electronic health record as an example of a SaaS application in the vendor cloud. Our permitting application with Acela is another example. And so there are some industry standard applications that are available with SaaS. However, we still have a large portion of our application portfolio that is what we call homegrown, and some of which will stay homegrown. So I don't think we're ever going to say that everything's going to be a SaaS application.
No.
What do you think?
I don't think we will.
Some of the things that have been built and some of the integration services will always be part of our on-premise environment. And there's a lot of development that has to occur with SaaS to integrate back to our data center in terms of reporting and other key integrations. So just because something's a SaaS application does not mean that our folks aren't going to be involved with that. You can see on the bottom left our Amazon Web Service environment, and we're starting to make some strides there in terms of moving applications and other services out to AWS. Our backups are now located in AWS, and we're continuing to mature that process. We are starting to move application services out there and refactor those as needed. And it's our disaster recovery solution. So when you think about disaster recovery, in prior years we used to always think of Quincy or a data center somewhere east of the mountains. Well, Amazon and Amazon Web Services is our data recovery, disaster recovery solution. They have regions everywhere across the country, and there's no reason for us to build out a data center east of the mountains and spend a lot of money doing that when we can take advantage of Amazon. So this has been communicated with our customers. They're looking at their critical services and which applications they do need in a disaster recovery type environment. And we're starting to see movement with our customers into those environments.
We have a question.
Okay.
I hear AWS is too expensive and that KCIT will be moving to MS Azure. Is there any truth to that?
No. Yeah, that's it's very dependent. The cost is very dependent, obviously, on what service or application goes into AWS, and it is our infrastructure as a service vendor. And there's a lot of services that we already have over there. There's a whole model that our operations team is putting together in terms of being able to cost out the application. But no, we're in no way abandoning that. And that is not the case where it's too expensive. So we are looking at Azure though strategically. We're not just crossing that off. But we'll be using that Azure as needed where they have services or solutions that need to integrate with some of our other Microsoft Cloud solutions. So it's not out of the question, but AWS right now is our primary landing spot. Okay. And then we'll send this out, but I wanted to give you an update on our data management overview. You've seen this platform slide before, some of you. You know that we have, hopefully you know, we have some recruitments out for data architects and an ETL developer, and we'll be recruiting also for a chief data officer that will really manage this service and drive our data initiatives. So that's what I have for you today. I hope this was helpful. As I said, we'll put out a survey to see, how is the CIO Roundtable working for you? What would you like to see differently, if anything? And next year we'll make those improvements and hopefully continue this communication. So thank you for joining today. If you have any other questions, let myself or Jamie know, and we'll make sure we get them answered. But thank you for your work. As you can see, we have a lot in front of us, which is exciting, and we'll continue to make progress. So have a great evening, and we'll talk to you next month.